There's a strange kind of silence that comes when you feel lost. Not the loud chaos of failure, not the clear pain of heartbreak, but a quiet ache deep in your chest, like something's missing, but you can't name it. You look around, and everyone seems to know where they're going. Friends getting married, co-workers chasing promotions, people online showing off the perfect life. And you're just drifting. Not broken, but not whole. Not sad, but definitely not fulfilled. You wonder, what's wrong with me? You try to fix it. Books, routines, maybe even therapy. But nothing quite lands. It's like you're walking through fog with no map, no guide, and no one really sees what you're going through. It's lonely, it's heavy, and it feels like maybe you've just failed at life. But what if I told you you're not lost at all? What if this strange emptiness, this disconnection, isn't a breakdown, but a breakthrough? See, no one talks about this part of awakening. No one tells you that the moment before your deepest growth often feels like collapse. That the shedding of who you thought you were feels like being lost because your old self is dying, and your new self is still being born. This isn't failure, it's transformation. This is the sacred space between identities where your soul whispers louder than the world, but you've never been taught how to listen. In today's video, we're going deep into this. We'll explore the hidden signs that you're awakening and not just aimless. Why your discomfort is actually a message from your higher self, and how to stop resisting the process and start trusting it. We'll unpack how society conditions us to believe that productivity equals purpose, and how breaking away from that lie can feel like madness before it feels like peace. So if you've been questioning everything, your job, your relationships, your own worth, know this: you are not broken, you are not behind, and most of all, you are not lost. You are awakening. And now, finally, someone is telling you. There's an overwhelming pressure from society that whispers daily, you should have it all figured out by now. From the moment we step into the world, we're bombarded with expectations: get a degree, land a good job, settle down, and keep climbing. This constant barrage creates the illusion that progress is linear, as if every step forward is neatly mapped out on a flawless path. Yet, beneath the surface, the truth is far more turbulent. We're led to believe that success comes in a straight line, a myth that only deepens our inner chaos when our journey doesn't mirror the expected narrative. I remember a time when I felt utterly adrift. I sat in my room, enveloped in a numb silence, heart heavy with the weight of unfulfilled dreams. I had followed the conventional path, studied hard, got a decent job, but somehow, despite ticking every box, a persistent feeling of emptiness gnawed at me. I questioned every decision, every twist and turn in my life. Was this really progress? Or was I merely wandering in circles, trapped in a maze with no exit? That sensation of being lost isn't simply about not having a destination. It's a profound internal dissonance, where anxiety and numbness intermingle with a deep-seated confusion about who we are and where we belong. As I navigated that dark phase, I began to see that society's insistence on having it all figured out was less a roadmap to enlightenment and more a source of constant self-doubt. The myth of linear progress casts success as a neatly packaged journey, where every achievement is expected to follow the previous one in an unbroken, predictable sequence. But life, in its raw and unfiltered beauty, rarely adheres to such tidy plans. Instead, it meanders through moments of brilliance and despair, each equally significant in shaping our inner world. This realization slowly chipped away at the belief that being lost was a sign of failure. Rather, it became clear that this state of disarray was a natural and necessary part of a larger, transformative process. In the quiet moments of introspection, when The external noise subsides, and we are left with our unguarded thoughts. A different truth emerges. The anxiety that stifles our every move, the numbness that makes us question the very essence of our being, is not a curse, but a signal. It is the soul's way of urging us to question the rigid constructs we've been fed and to embrace a more authentic, albeit chaotic, journey. I realized that my feelings of not fitting in, of not living up to the ideal life, were not indictments of my worth, but markers of an inner evolution that had quietly begun. I was, in fact, shedding the old layers of a prescribed identity, making room for something deeper and more genuine. In exploring this turbulence, I found that many of us share this same experience, a universal narrative of disorientation that stems from societal expectations. The pressure to project a picture-perfect life can be suffocating, leading us to mask our vulnerability behind a facade of certainty. Yet, when we dare to look beyond this illusion of control, we discover that the journey through uncertainty is not a detour from success, but the very essence of awakening. Embracing the uncertainty, understanding that our progress is not a straight line, but a series of unpredictable yet meaningful steps, is where true liberation lies. And as we begin to honor the natural ebb and flow of our inner landscapes, we come to see that being lost was never about failure at all. It was the first step toward awakening. There's a moment in every soul's journey when the veil lifts, even if just for a moment. It's that instant when you see beyond the routine, beyond the roles you've been playing, beyond the life you've been living, to the life you could be creating. This is what we call spiritual awakening, but what does it really mean? It's not some magical moment where everything falls into place. It's not about finding the answers that tie up your life in a neat bow. No, spiritual awakening is much deeper, much more profound than that. It's the recognition that who you thought you were is only a fraction of who you can be. And that ego identity, that carefully constructed version of you that's been shaped by the world, by your experiences, by your fears, is not the truth of who you are. But the moment you awaken, something shifts. You begin to move from living solely in the realm of the ego to tuning in more deeply with your soul. And that transition can be jarring. The ego, after all, is not thrilled to lose control. The ego's job is to protect you, to keep you safe, to cling to what it knows, even if that safety is causing pain. So when the soul begins to awaken, the ego's immediate response is to resist. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But the journey to becoming who you truly are is not a smooth ride. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's a shedding of layers that have long defined you, and the ego doesn't want to let go. It grips tighter, pulls you back into old patterns, old stories. That's why awakening often feels like you're walking through fire, like everything you've ever known about yourself is being shattered. Eckhart Tolle, in his transformative book The Power of Now, talks about how we often live in the past or future, but true awakening happens in the present moment. You are not your mind, Tolle writes, and in those words lies the heart of awakening. The realization that your thoughts are not who you are. Your thoughts don't define your worth. Your thoughts don't dictate your potential. The soul is timeless. It's always in the now. And when you begin to identify with your soul rather than your ego, that's when the true power of awakening starts to unfold. But the ego doesn't give up easily. It resists change. It tries to convince you that you're losing something. In reality, you're not losing anything. You're just shedding the weight of illusion. When you begin to identify less with your ego and more with your soul, you'll realize something profound. You are not just a collection of your past experiences. You are the presence behind the experiences, the awareness that sees it all And yes, it's terrifying at first, but only because you've spent your whole life thinking you were just the roles you play, the stories you tell yourself. The job, the relationship, the expectations. But the truth is, the soul is limitless, and it will never stop growing, expanding, and awakening. If you're in that space where it feels like everything is falling apart, know this: you're not falling apart. You're falling into yourself, the real you. And once you realize that, the awakening process becomes not something to fear, but something to embrace. 10 clear signs. You're awakening. The journey of awakening is not always gentle. It doesn't come with a roadmap, and it doesn't arrive on your terms. You may have found yourself drifting, feeling like something is changing within you, but you can't quite explain what it is. That's because awakening isn't always obvious, at least not at first. But as you go through this process, there are certain signs that begin to emerge, certain shifts that you cannot ignore. Let's talk about 10 clear signs that you're awakening, signs that might make you feel a little uneasy at first. But know this: these are all part of your spiritual evolution. Losing interest in material success. The first sign is often subtle, but it becomes undeniable over time. You begin to lose interest in the things that used to matter the most. The material goals, the career ambitions, the outward success. At first, you may feel guilty for feeling this way. After all, society tells you that success equals happiness, right? But you start to see through the illusion. You realize that no matter how many achievements you rack up, it never truly fills the void within. The new car, the bigger house, the promotion, they don't bring lasting peace. You start to crave something deeper, something more meaningful than what the world defines as success. And that is when you begin to awaken to the truth. Material success can't nourish the soul. Questioning everything. The next sign is powerful. You start questioning everything, and I mean everything. Your beliefs, your values, your choices, they're all up for examination. What you once took for granted suddenly seems unimportant or even limiting. You begin to ask, why do I believe this? Why do I do this? Why do I let this control me? It's like a veil is being lifted, and the world you once saw through a narrow lens is now vast, full of infinite possibilities. This questioning doesn't stop at the surface level. It goes deep. You'll even start questioning your identity, your purpose, and what you're really here to do. Emotional roller coasters. Awakening doesn't come without its emotional ups and downs. It's like being on a roller coaster ride you didn't sign up for. One moment you're filled with a sense of clarity, peace, and purpose. The next, you're overwhelmed by waves of emotion that you can't quite explain. One minute, you feel deeply connected to everything around you, and the next, you're flooded with sadness or anger. This emotional instability isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your emotions, once tightly controlled, are now breaking free. You're no longer repressing what's inside. You're feeling it all, deeply, authentically, and raw. And this emotional release is part of the process of awakening. Need for solitude. You may find yourself retreating from social interactions more and more. It's not that you don't care about others, but you're realizing that your energy is better spent alone, in quiet reflection. You crave moments of solitude to connect with yourself, to process your emotions, and to simply be. The outside world may start to feel overwhelming, and being around people can drain you more than it used to. This isn't isolation. It's a deep, spiritual need for introspection. When you're awakening, the noise of the world becomes too much, and you begin to realize the importance of tuning in to your inner world. Intuition sharpening. As you awaken, you may notice your intuition growing stronger. You start to feel a deeper connection to your inner guidance, That quiet, subtle voice inside you that tells you what feels right. What used to be uncertain or unclear now feels like second nature. You might have a gut feeling about situations or people before they even unfold. You trust your instincts more than ever, and they rarely steer you wrong. This sharpened intuition is a direct sign of your soul's awakening. You're becoming more aligned with your true self, and the universe is guiding you in ways that feel more effortless than before. Feeling alienated with awakening comes a sense of alienation. Suddenly, you feel out of place in a world that no longer resonates with you. The people around you, the life you've built, even the things you once enjoyed. It all feels distant, as if it belongs to a version of you that no longer exists. You start to question the relationships in your life, wondering if they still serve your higher purpose. This alienation can feel uncomfortable, but it's important to remember, it's not that you've changed, it's that your vibration has shifted. The people and things that once fit into your reality no longer do, because your soul is evolving. And as you awaken, you'll naturally outgrow certain aspects of your old life. Unhealed wounds. Surfacing. Here's a sign you can't ignore. Unhealed wounds begin to surface. Old traumas, painful memories, unresolved emotions. They all start bubbling up to the surface, asking for attention. At first, you might try to push them back down, but that doesn't work anymore. You're no longer able to repress what needs healing. Your soul is calling for you to address these wounds, to release them, and to heal. This part of the process can be painful and uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly freeing. As you heal your wounds, you're making space for a deeper, more authentic version of yourself to emerge. Time feels different. Have you noticed that time feels different? Perhaps it feels like it's speeding up or slowing down. You may find yourself questioning how long certain moments have lasted, or you could feel a deep sense of timelessness when you're immersed in the present. Time itself becomes more fluid and less rigid, like it's a construct rather than a constant. This shift in perception is a clear sign of your awakening. You're no longer trapped in the past or future. You're starting to exist in the now, where time loses its grip on you. Dreams intensify. Another sign you're awakening is an increase in the intensity of your dreams. You may find yourself dreaming vividly, sometimes even lucidly. Your dreams may feel like messages, like your subconscious is trying to communicate something to you. You might even feel that your dreams are leading you towards deeper insights, hidden truths, or forgotten parts of yourself. It's not just your conscious mind that's waking up. Your subconscious is too. The more you pay attention to your dreams, the clearer the messages become. Feeling like an outsider. The final sign is one that's often the hardest to accept. You feel like an outsider, disconnected from the world around you. You might feel as if you're watching life happen rather than fully participating in it. You see the world differently now, and you can't go back to the way it was. But here's the thing. This feeling of being an outsider isn't something to fear. It's a sign that you're no longer in alignment with the old ways. You're beginning to align with your higher self, and that means stepping outside of the norm, outside of what everyone else expects. And that's where true freedom lies. The darker the night, the brighter the stars. This quote, often attributed to the famous French writer Fyodor Dostoevsky, holds profound truth, especially when it comes to the journey of awakening. As you begin to awaken, there's one aspect of yourself you cannot avoid facing: your shadow. The shadow is that hidden part of you, the parts of yourself that you've suppressed, denied, or rejected over time. These are the parts of your personality, your emotions, and your past that you've tried to bury, hoping they would go away. But awakening forces you to face them, whether you're ready or not. What is the shadow? The shadow is a concept first introduced by Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in psychology. Jung believed that the shadow represents the unconscious aspects of our personality that we hide from ourselves and others. These are the parts of ourselves that we consider undesirable, weak, or unacceptable. Traits like anger, jealousy, shame, guilt, or fear. The problem is, when we suppress these emotions or aspects of our being, we don't eliminate them. We just push them into the depths of our subconscious. And over time, these suppressed parts start to manifest in unhealthy ways. Through emotional triggers, self-sabotage, or even through projections onto others. It's easy to overlook the shadow, but its influence on our lives is undeniable. The more we resist facing it, the more control it has over us. But the good news is, by embracing the shadow, we can begin to heal and integrate these repressed parts of ourselves. The process of shadow work is uncomfortable, but it's necessary for true spiritual growth. How the shadow shows up. During awakening. When you begin to awaken, the shadow doesn't stay dormant. In fact, it becomes louder. It starts showing up in your daily life, often in ways you least expect. Sudden emotional outbursts, irritability, guilt, shame, or intense self-judgment. These are all signs that your shadow is calling for your attention. You may find yourself triggered by situations or people that never bothered you before. Your deepest insecurities might surface, or you might experience bursts of intense anger or sadness over past events you thought you had let go of. It's during the awakening process that the shadow's energy becomes almost impossible to ignore. The awakening forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you have buried deep down, because it knows that true transformation can only occur when you face what you've repressed. At first, it might feel like chaos. Your emotions are running wild and you're not sure why. But this emotional turbulence is a signal of transformation. You're shedding the old layers of your identity, and the shadow is pushing you to confront the deeper truths of who you really are. Pain as a signal of transformation. One of the hardest things about shadow work is recognizing that pain isn't always something to avoid. Sometimes pain is the key to your awakening. Pain is a messenger. When you begin facing your shadow, it often comes in the form of emotional discomfort, pain, or even physical symptoms. But the pain is not there to punish you. It's there to guide you. When you experience deep emotional pain, it's your soul's way of telling you that there's something that needs healing. That wound, that painful memory, that trauma you've buried in the past. It's asking to be seen, heard, and released. Rather than running from the pain, you need to lean into it. You need to sit with it, understand it, and allow yourself to feel it fully. This can be excruciating, but it's essential. Pain signals the old patterns that no longer serve you. And when you face it, you create space for something new to emerge. Pain is the catalyst for transformation. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of your soul's evolution. As you experience pain, remember that on the other side of it is your freedom, a version of you that is more authentic, more whole, and more connected to your true self. Inner child and trauma wounds. A significant part of shadow work involves reconnecting with your inner child, the part of you that holds the memories, experiences, and emotional wounds from your past. When we talk about trauma, we're not just referring to extreme events like abuse or neglect. Trauma can be anything that caused emotional pain, rejection, abandonment, betrayal, or even the small moments where your needs were not met. As children, we internalize these experiences, and they shape our beliefs about ourselves, the world, and others. We create coping mechanisms, masks, or personas to protect ourselves from the pain. But these masks, the ones we put on to feel safe or accepted, are part of the shadow. The shadow holds the wounds from your childhood that you've never truly healed. It's easy to overlook these wounds, especially if they seem small or insignificant. But awakening brings them to the surface. As you begin shadow work, you may uncover memories from your childhood that you've long forgotten. You may start to remember the times when you felt neglected or unloved, the moments when you were afraid to be yourself. And as painful as it is, these are the moments that need to be healed. This is where the true work lies, in facing the parts of you that were wounded as a child, and in giving that part of you the love, compassion, and healing that it needs. By doing this, you're not only healing the inner child, you're healing yourself as a whole. You're integrating the shadow, accepting all parts of who you are, and reclaiming your true power. The ego is not who you are, it's who you think you are. Eckhart Tolle. Have you ever felt like everything you thought you knew about yourself was crumbling away? That overwhelming sense that your entire identity is dissolving, and with it, the certainty that you once held so tightly. That's the profound experience of ego death, the destruction of your false sense of self. It's the moment when you realize that the person you thought you were is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. This is one of the most powerful and intense stages of awakening. And while it may seem terrifying, it's also one of the most transformative experiences you'll ever face. When your old self starts crumbling. For so long, we live our lives believing in a certain identity. The roles we play, the titles we hold, and the mask we wear to fit into the world. But when the process of awakening begins, that identity starts to crack, shatter, and ultimately dissolve. You might notice this in small ways at first. The things that once brought you joy no longer hold meaning. Relationships that once defined you begin to feel hollow, and you start questioning your life's purpose. As the illusion of the ego begins to fall apart, the question becomes, who am I really? This is not just an intellectual realization, it's a deep, visceral experience. It feels like a part of your old self is dying, and that can be incredibly painful. The roles you've played for years, the perfect partner, the successful worker, the reliable friend, begin to fade, and you're left facing the rawness of your true essence. You may experience a sense of profound loss, like a part of you is slipping away, never to return. This is the crumbling of your old self, and it's not something to fear. It's part of your soul's journey towards liberation. In this moment of dissolution, you start to understand that you are not any of the labels or personas you've attached to yourself. You are something far greater. The grief of letting go of who you were. When the ego begins to dissolve, it brings with it an emotional reckoning. It's a process of grieving, but it's not a typical form of grief. It's the grief of letting go of who you thought you were, the identity you spent years cultivating, the image of yourself that you built to gain love, approval, and success. This grief is deep and raw because you're not just mourning the loss of an idea. You're mourning the loss of your sense of self. You may feel lost in this process, as if you no longer know who you are or what your purpose is. But the truth is, you're not losing yourself. You're shedding a false identity to make space for your true self to emerge. The grief is the ego's resistance to change. It's that part of you that doesn't want to let go of control, that doesn't want to step into the unknown. But the beautiful thing about grief is that it's also a doorway to healing. As you grieve the loss of who you once were, you begin to let go of the illusions that held you back. You start to create room for something far more authentic and aligned with your soul's true nature. Embrace the grief. It's a powerful signal that transformation is taking place. Emptiness before clarity. One of the most challenging aspects of ego death is the emptiness that follows. After your old self crumbles, you may feel like you're floating in a void, with no clear direction or sense of purpose. This emptiness can feel unsettling, like you're standing on the edge of a vast unknown with no ground to stand on. But here's the thing. This emptiness is a sacred space. It's the space where your true self can be reborn. Before clarity can emerge, you must first experience the emptiness. This is where the ego is fully surrendered and you're left with nothing but your bare soul. In this empty space, there is room for new insights, new purpose, and new clarity to take root. It's often in this emptiness that the most profound realizations come. You begin to understand that you are not the thoughts in your head or the roles you play. You are not defined by your achievements or your failures. You are the stillness beneath the chaos, the awareness that witnesses it all. In this space of emptiness, you experience a deep sense of freedom. The confusion fades, and what was once hidden becomes clear. You realize that your true essence is unshakable, eternal, and infinite. And it's only after this period of emptiness that you will emerge into the clarity of who you really are. It's like a diamond being shaped. The pressure and the darkness precede the brilliance. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. Sigmund Freud, we've all heard the phrase, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." But there's a deeper truth to this when it comes to the journey of awakening. What truly makes us stronger is not just surviving the darkness, it's integrating it. It's the inner alchemy, the sacred process where your deepest shadows are transmuted into light. This is the ultimate transformation. When you stop running from your pain, when you stop fighting your darkness, and instead allow it to guide you toward your rebirth. Integrating your darkness. For so long, we're taught to avoid our shadows, to push them away or bury them deep within. We hide our vulnerabilities, our fears, our anger, and our sadness, thinking they make us weak. But the truth is, your darkness is not your enemy. It's a part of you, a vital part of your soul's journey. And awakening isn't about escaping that darkness. It's about integrating it, learning from it, and letting it become a catalyst for change. As you move through this process, you may find yourself revisiting old wounds, traumas, regrets, fears that you thought you had buried long ago. These aren't signs of weakness. They're your opportunity to heal. They're the emotional raw materials from which your inner alchemy is forged. When you face these wounds with compassion and awareness, you allow them to dissolve into wisdom. You no longer see them as burdens to carry, but as teachers showing you the way forward. In this process, you'll likely experience moments where you feel overwhelmed or even defeated. That's the ego's resistance to change. But don't be fooled. The deeper you go into your darkness, the brighter the light that emerges on the other side. This is the magic of inner alchemy. When you embrace your shadow, you allow it to transform you into something stronger, more authentic, and more whole. Authentic self starts to emerge. As you continue integrating your darkness, something incredible happens. Your true self starts to emerge. This is the point where you stop trying to be the person everyone else expects you to be, and you start embracing who you were always meant to become. You begin to shed the layers of false identity that you built up over the years. The roles you played, the masks you wore, the expectations you followed. The more you connect with your authentic self, the more you'll notice a shift in the way you see the world. The need for validation from others fades away, and you start to feel a deep sense of self-worth that isn't based on external achievements or opinions. This new sense of self is grounded in your core values, in your soul's truth. You may feel lighter, freer, and more aligned with who you truly are. And as your authentic self emerges, you may begin to attract new experiences and relationships that reflect this inner transformation. You'll start attracting people who resonate with the real you and let go of those who no longer align with your higher path. deep peace, replacing old chaos. One of the most profound changes that happens during this inner alchemical process is the sense of peace that gradually replaces the chaos that once defined your life. Before your awakening, you may have lived in constant turmoil, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. The noise of the world, the pressure to keep up, the internal battles between your desires and fears, they all created a constant state of stress and confusion. But as you integrate your shadow and embrace your authentic self, the chaos begins to settle. The emotional roller coaster slows down, and you begin to experience a deep sense of peace that permeates your being. This peace is not passive or complacent. It's a peace born from the knowledge that you are aligned with your true purpose, that you are no longer resisting what is. It's a peace that comes from within, not dependent on external circumstances, but rooted in your connection with your inner self. In this peace, you find clarity. You stop reacting to life's challenges with fear and anxiety, and instead, approach them with calmness and wisdom. Your emotional state stabilizes, and you start to respond to life from a place of balance rather than chaos. It's like learning how to swim in a stormy ocean. Once you find your rhythm, the waves no longer overwhelm you. Instead, you become the calm in the storm. Emotional intelligence grows. As you continue your inner alchemical process, your emotional intelligence grows exponentially. This isn't just about understanding your emotions better, it's about mastering them. You start to recognize your emotions for what they truly are, messengers guiding you toward deeper self-awareness. Instead of being controlled by anger, fear, or sadness, you learn to sit with them, understand them, and transform them into something more constructive. Your emotional intelligence also deepens in relation to others. You begin to understand people on a much deeper level, seeing beyond their words and actions to the emotions and intentions beneath the surface. This gives you the ability to connect more deeply with others, to empathize, and to communicate in a more authentic and compassionate way. As your emotional intelligence grows, you'll find yourself making decisions that are more aligned with your soul's truth. You'll stop reacting out of fear or insecurity and instead make choices from a place of clarity, confidence, and inner peace. This is the true essence of inner alchemy. When your emotional landscape is transformed, you unlock the power to create a life that is truly aligned with who you are at your core. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Buddha, so your awakening, you felt the shifts within you, the stirring of something greater, something more aligned with your true essence. But with this transformation comes a new challenge. How do you navigate this journey without getting lost? How do you move through the chaos and confusion and emerge more grounded, more aligned, and more empowered than ever before? The awakening process isn't linear. It's not like a clear-cut path that you can map out on a chart. It's messy, it's beautiful, and it can sometimes feel like you're swimming in the unknown. But don't worry. There are tools, practices, and ways to support you as you walk through this incredible transformation. Journaling and reflection, one of the most powerful tools you can use during your awakening process, is journaling. Writing gives you a space to process your emotions, to reflect on your thoughts, and to record the insights and wisdom that are emerging within you. It's more than just writing down events. It's a way to create clarity in the midst of the confusion. When you put pen to paper, you give your mind a chance to slow down, to digest what's happening, and to make sense of it all. Journaling helps you track your progress too. You might notice patterns or shifts in your thinking that weren't there before. By looking back at what you've written, you'll be able to see how far you've come and how much growth has occurred. And when the days feel heavy, when you feel lost or unsure of the path ahead, reading your journal can serve as a reminder of the light within you and the strength you already possess. mindfulness and breathwork. Mindfulness and breathwork are two practices that can anchor you in the present moment. When you're in the midst of an awakening, your mind can jump from thought to thought, overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information and emotions that arise. This mental chaos can make it hard to stay grounded and connected to your true self. That's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about witnessing your thoughts, your feelings, and the world around you without getting lost in them. By practicing mindfulness, you train your mind to be aware of the here and now, not the past, not the future, just this moment. Breath work is equally powerful. By focusing on your breath, you can calm your nervous system, reduce stress, and bring clarity to your mind. It's a simple yet profound tool for connecting to your body and bringing you back to a place of stillness when your thoughts start to race. Together, mindfulness and breath work help you stay present, centered, and balanced during this transformative time. Emotional awareness. As you awaken, emotions will intensify, you'll feel more deeply, and sometimes those feelings will feel overwhelming, but don't resist them. Instead, lean into them. Become aware of what you're feeling without judgment. The awakening process is emotional because it's about shedding old layers, and that can bring up a lot of raw feelings. You may experience joy, grief, anger, sadness, and exhilaration, often all at once. The key is not to push those emotions away, but to acknowledge and understand them. Every emotion that arises is a clue, a messenger guiding you toward deeper self-awareness. When you practice emotional awareness, you start to see your emotions as signals, not obstacles. You learn how to respond with empathy for yourself and how to use that emotional energy to fuel your growth. Seek support, therapy, or soul community. During the awakening process, it's essential to have support. There's no shame in needing guidance or seeking help from others. In fact, it's an essential part of the journey. Whether it's therapy, a life coach, or a spiritual mentor, the right support can offer you valuable perspectives and tools for navigating the challenges you face. Having someone who understands the depth of what you're going through can make all the difference. Don't try to go through this alone. And remember, a soul community, a group of like-minded individuals who are also on their own awakening journey, is just as important. When you surround yourself with others who share your experiences and your growth, you create a powerful, energetic circle that nurtures your transformation. This community can provide the emotional and spiritual support you need and help you feel seen, heard, and understood. Protecting your energy. Finally, as you awaken, you become more sensitive to the energy around you. You may notice that certain people, places, or situations drain you, while others lift you up. This heightened sensitivity is a sign that your energy is shifting and expanding. And with this expansion comes the responsibility of protecting your energy. Learn to set boundaries, emotional, mental, and physical, to protect yourself from negativity. Take time for self-care, and don't be afraid to say no when something doesn't feel right for you. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's necessary for your continued growth and healing. By consciously choosing where and how you invest your energy, you ensure that you stay aligned with your highest path. When you wake up to who you truly are, everything changes. Unknown, as you journey through the awakening process, you reach a moment when everything begins to fall into place. It's as if the universe in all its complexity finally aligns with your deepest self. That moment is the gift of awakening. You see the transformation you've been through, the pain, the confusion, the chaos. All of it was leading you to this point. The moment when your life begins to align authentically. When you stop living for others, for society's expectations, and you start living for you, for your truth, life begins to align authentically. When you awaken, you no longer feel the need to force things. You stop chasing goals that don't resonate, and you begin to attract opportunities and people that align with your highest self. The things that used to feel out of reach or out of sync start to flow naturally toward you. Life becomes effortless, not because everything is easy, but because you've stopped resisting what is meant for you. Instead of fighting against the current, you begin to flow with it. This alignment doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of peeling back the layers of illusion, facing your fears, and allowing your true essence to emerge. And when you allow yourself to be fully in tune with who you are, life starts to match that vibration. Opportunities, relationships, and circumstances begin to unfold in ways that feel nothing short of miraculous. Deeper purpose and clarity. With this new alignment comes clarity. Clarity on who you are, clarity on your purpose. The fog lifts, and you begin to see the bigger picture. Why you're here, what your soul is calling you to do, and how to live your life in a way that truly reflects your essence. No longer are you just wandering in search of meaning. You now have a deeper sense of purpose that guides every decision, every action, and every choice you make. Inner peace and connection to self. The most profound shift during your awakening is the deep, unshakable peace that settles within you. It's a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's a peace that comes from being completely and utterly connected to your true self. You realize that you don't need to seek validation from the outside world anymore because you are enough. You find comfort in your own company. You no longer need to prove yourself because you know, deep down, that your worth is not measured by anything external. You are whole. You are enough, just as you are. You become your own guide. And perhaps the greatest gift of all is that you become your own guide. Throughout the awakening process, you've learned to trust yourself, to listen to the whispers of your soul, and to follow your intuition. The more you tune into your inner wisdom, the clearer your path becomes. You no longer look to others for answers because you know that the truth lies within. You've gained the confidence to trust your instincts and the courage to walk your own path, regardless of what others may say or think. You realize that you've always had the answers. You just had to awaken to them. This, right here, is the gift of awakening. A life that's aligned, a purpose that's clear, a peace that runs deep, and the knowledge that you are your own guide. Your awakening is not the end. It's the beginning of a new way of being. And now, with each step, you walk with the confidence of knowing you are living in harmony with your true self. As you reflect on this journey, remember, you're not broken, you're becoming. Every challenge, every moment of confusion, every tear is a vital part of your transformation. It's not about fixing yourself, but about allowing yourself to evolve into the person you've always been destined to be. As Carl Jung so beautifully said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is your privilege. This is your moment of awakening. The process may feel intense, but trust that every step you're taking is leading you closer to your authentic self. So, trust the journey. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be. You are exactly who you need to be. Your awakening is your path to freedom, and the universe is guiding you every step of the way. Keep moving forward. The best is yet to come.